So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. All right, Rockstar Nation, we got a great returning guest. I got Mr. MC Laubscher on, and MC is a wealth of knowledge. Been on the show once, but it's probably, close to 2 years ago. I was looking at October 2016. Wow. So, 423 episode. And so lots has changed for him since then. And I started communicating with him. I was like, man, we need to figure out a challenge that real estate agents have. And we need to walk through this challenge and talk through this challenge. And one of the things that's a pet peeve of mine is that real estate agents don't a lot of them are false prophets. I mean, the worst false prophet of an agent is one that FISBOs their own house. The second worst is one that, has been in business a long time and rents themselves. And probably the third is the one that works with a lot of investors and never invests. And I think and one of the biggest challenges along that third line is that most agents have absolutely no retirement, right? They don't do anything for retirement. They don't save properly. They don't invest properly. And it's sad. It's sad when you get agents that are chasing for sale by owners that are, 82 years old and, getting their head kicked in, doing this hard ass work. Right. So I said, let's solve some of this problem. Come on back. Let's chat. So without further ado, welcome back to Real Estate Rockstars, Mr. MC Laubscher.
Pat, always a blast connecting, my friend. Thank you so much for having me on again.
Hey, buddy, why don't you tell everybody who you are so they get to know you better?
Yeah, so my name is MC Laubscher. I'm originally from South Africa, came to the States in the early 2000s and 2001. I currently have a podcast called The Cash Flow Ninja, where we interview cash flow ninjas that share how to create income streams from real estate, commodities, businesses, especially online businesses, blockchain and crypto assets, paper assets, and much, much more. So we look at all those different angles and ways how to create cash flow in this crazy environment that we're in, this crazy, exciting environment. And then I'm also the president and chief wealth and investment strategist at Producers Wealth. It's a wealth creation firm based out of Newtown, Pennsylvania, where I reside, that services clients virtually in all 50 states.
That's awesome, dude. So, so let's get into this. So, real estate agents traditionally are a victim of overspending. I call them fillionaires, right? Fillionaires are fake millionaires. It starts out being insecure on listing appointments or being insecure with buyers. And in that, they go out on a listing appointment, there's competitors, they pull up in a old car, right? A hoopty. And the other guy pulls up in a Beamer and the other girl pulls up in a Mercedes Benz, and instantly the seller of the house thinks, well, this person doesn't know what they're doing because they drive a crappy car. So then they go out and buy a car. It works. People are like, oh, wow, you must sell a lot of houses. We'll work with you. And then after that, the more money that they make, the more they spend on big things, right? Like landscaping their backyard to the tune of 50 grand and buying a boat and, adding an addition on their house or whatever the case may be, because they make big checks all at once. So they'll make like 20 grand one month, but then the next month they only make 3 grand. Unfortunately, a lot of them get to later stages in life and they don't have any savings, right? They don't have any investments. They don't have any horizontal income, any passive income that most people would at least have retirement and, and a pension. So what do we do about this?
Yeah, I think one of the first things that I would say is that you are in a business, and you are a business if you're an agent. So I think that a lot of folks go into that not thinking of themselves as a business and treating it like a business from the beginning, and to have a plan in place, right? Because I think a lot what you just mentioned also falls into the category of living a life by default instead of design, right? As a business owner, you have a plan, there's strategies that you have. You're looking overall as a business owner throughout the next 12 months. And as a business owner, you understand that there's going to be certain times, like for instance, when a lot of people go out and buy houses in the summer. And if you're on the East Coast and then, in some of the colder areas in the winter, that there's not a ton of people shopping around and looking for places in the midst of winter, right? So there's going to be cash flow issues, just like a business. So you got to treat it like a business. You got to build a business by design and not by default, just getting pulled in whichever direction you go. So I think that's like the first thing that folks have to realize. And then I would also say, well, where do we start from there? How do we get organized? How do we start building a business in a life by design rather than just by default, right? List something, sell it. Now I got to put some money into marketing again. I got to generate more leads instead of having a constant flow of leads, having the marketing up and running, having all of these systems. So I would say from a personal finance part for business owners and entrepreneurs, it's the same thing. So I'm going to start with that with a wealth formula that I learned from a mentor of mine that was a game changer for my life.
Okay, yeah.
And it was
Please share.
Your mental capital times your relationship capital is your financial capital.
Wait a minute. Slow down, MC. Your mental capital. First of all, I like how you said wealth by default, not by design, is what's happening.
Yep.
Right. And I want to find out, and I want to discuss what a real estate agent's wealth by design would look like if you were a brand new agent, right? I want to walk through that. But before I do that, get into this equation. Say it again.
So it's your mental capital times your relationship capital equals your financial capital.
Okay, so break that down.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people think about stuff, right? They think in terms of stuff and having this and having that. And you mentioned the car too, right? Which, listen, optics is everything. Look at marketing today. Optics is everything. But if you're going to build a business and a life by design, your mental capital is basically what you read, what you know, what you study.
What you learn, right?
Yeah, exactly. The courses that you take, the books that you read, the experiences you have. How can
podcasts you listen to?
Exactly. The podcast that you listen to, what is unique about you? Because there's something unique about us, right? We all have different experiences. We all have different backgrounds. We all have something different to add. How can you position that in your favor? That's your mental capital. Also, your high income skill sets fall into that. So you might be a real estate agent. What's going to differentiate you as far as mental capital from all of the other agents out in the field? What skill set, one skill can you grab from somewhere else to go out there and light it on fire? Now, it might be you're really good at driving traffic through, let's just pick something, Facebook marketing.
Okay.
That's a high income skill if you know how to do it and know how to crush it. YouTube is a big one right now, right? And there's guys and gals very successful on YouTube building audiences. And I've seen actually some pop-up ads on YouTube for me. It's real estate agents, specifically targeting investors, for instance. So that's a high income skill set, is taking something that you can add in combination of what you know and who you are and your experiences to differentiate yourself from the field. Relationship capital ties into, back to the Jim Rohn, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? Your network, who you know, who's part of your team.
You are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most.
Exactly. Your masterminds, right? Which is super, super important. That's
your relationship capital.
Your relationship capital. And then by combining those two, that's going to get you your financial capital, where I think a lot of people are so focused just on the financial capital because they could see it. They could, see people shoot. What do they use? Those guns, those money guns, like a lot of these people do online. You could see it, right? But
Right.
it's the unseeable stuff that around that's going to lead to eventually that, which will tie into creating something by design. So I don't know if you want to grab a couple of, or have any feedback on some of the stuff that I just mentioned.
Yeah, no, that was great. The one thing that popped in my head is tell me about this. So, YouTube, you're on YouTube, right? You
Yep.
talk about investments on your podcast. You're an investor guy. You invest yourself. Obviously, you watch some, you subscribed to some other people that are into real estate investing. And because of that, and because of your activity, someone who is buying ads on a real estate agent who is buying ads on YouTube targeted you, not directly, but indirectly, because that's what you can do, just like you can on Facebook. What were they targeting with? This guy showed up and said, MC, you want to buy a house in Cleveland, Ohio, that's an 8-plex that has a cash on cash of 12.5%. Is that the sort of thing that's going on now?
Yeah, so I think the algorithms has it specifically, and it's the same thing with Instagram, by the way, which that's another gold mine for really untapped for I would say real estate professionals and specifically agents now, especially with Instagram TV. I think that's just going to grow and grow in the coming years. Huge opportunity there to start building a platform and growing it. But yeah, you can try and find the buyers that you want. So if your perfect client and buyers are investors, you can specifically run and first learn the skill set of that advertising on YouTube or Facebook or even Instagram to get a hold of those folks, and also share pretty quickly why they should be doing business with you. That's how you differentiate it. But I think, like, from a mental capital standpoint, the biggest changes that I've had in my life is when I figure out what skill set I need to accomplish a certain thing. So you mentioned advertising. If you're listening to this, maybe you're saying, well, that's actually a pretty good idea. I haven't thought of that. I cold call, I knock on doors, I have open houses, I have cocktail parties, all these other things, but I don't really have an online presence. Well, there's an opportunity then to figure out and set a goal to learn that skill set of how do I become an absolute ninja, right, at finding the right folks in those different areas.
No, I think it's brilliant. And I think that's where the world's going, actually, if you think about it, right? So if your skill set is investors, or let's just say it's not, but you happen to have sold 5 investment properties this year. I mean, you can pay money, guys, at Facebook, you can pay money to YouTube to have an ad pop up in front of investors. And the same thing could be done for, let's say you work with first-time buyers, or you worked with a first-time buyer or 3 first-time buyers this year. You can have your ads pop up in front of people that have, like, Bridal Magazine, or, happen to be just married. You can pay for all that inexpensively and have a video of, hi, I'm Amanda, and so far I've sold 3 houses this year to newlywed couples, and I love working with them, and if you're getting married in the next 6 months, or in the future, use me or whatever, I'm dulling this down, but
Yeah.
But so that's happening, and it's happening to everybody, and it's going to happen more and more and more. What else can you talk on the wealth building end of this? When you say building wealth by design and not by default. So let's say you're giving advice to a brand new agent, and and you want to show to him that almost every other agent in his office has created wealth by default, and you want him to create wealth by design, him or her. What advice do you give him? Amazing read for agents who want to blow their business up. 6 Steps to 7 Figures was an amazing read. Pat breaks it down into simple, actionable steps that, if taken, will almost guarantee 7-figure success in the real estate sales business. Couldn't recommend this enough. Wow. Thank you for the awesome Amazon review, Gero215. Now, Do you want to get your hands on this book for free and blow your business up? Here's how. Go to free6stepsbook.com. That's free, S-I-X, stepsbook.com right now. Or simply text the word PAT to 444-999. That's text PAT to 444-999, and I'll send you a free book.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think a lot of folks will find themselves in a situation where you're not employed by a corporation. You are essentially a business and running a business. So number one, a lot of the advice in personal finance and all this stuff that that you'll see through the marketing that I just spoke about is not targeted towards you. It's targeted towards the average person that's going to work, maxing out a 401k, all that kind of stuff. So what that stuff is not available for you. There's no employer to take care of you. What can you do to empower yourself to design a life full of abundance and wealth down the line, right? Instead of waiting so badly for that commission check to clear so that you can actually go out and buy some groceries and maybe a couple of beers and watch some football on the weekend, if that's your thing, right? So how do you not get into that situation? And I would say, again, the whole thing about design falls into having a strategy. Not just a plan, but a strategy. Everybody's got a plan. And Mike Tyson knows what happens to someone when they have a plan and they get punched in the face, right? Which you're going to in business.
Conor McGregor, right? I mean, that's,
Yeah.
that's I love that quote. This, first time I saw a guy had it in his, hanging in his office. I think I'm going to do it too. And it says, it's Mike Tyson, but you could probably make a new one and just say Conor McGregor said it, because Mike Tyson probably never even said it, but he says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. and I first saw that. I was like, man, that's brilliant. But anyways, so tell me, so what's the difference then?
Yeah. So from a strategy standpoint, there's a lot of flexibility built into that, right? Because there's going to be ups and downs. And so from a strategic point, from a wealth creation, as I mentioned, the one thing that's in common with mental capital and relationship capital is you're at the center of that, right? So you're the asset. You're the number one asset. So personal finance, what they teach a lot and what is marketed to you is, pay off, don't go into debt, pay off your debt, max out your 401k, buy some stock bonds and mutual funds, all that stuff. That's everything is outside of you at that point, right? You're the asset as part of a strategy, because of you, this strategy is going to be determined whether it's going to be successful or not. You're also your number one investment, which you're already investing your time with Pat and myself. If you're listening to this, so congratulations. Keep doing that, and around things that you know. Because things that you
understand. So you're saying don't invest in the stock market because stock markets crash.
I have not personally been in the markets. And again, I know folks that have made a lot of money in the markets because that's around their unique ability and skill set as traders.
You mean they're traders?
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with Bitcoin, right? That the big word that's out there. There are folks that have lost everything. There are folks buying islands in the Caribbean. What's the difference between those people? Well, the one knew about it, knew something. They had a strategy. It's not the asset class. It's the investor. So it's the person that decides whether something is an asset or a liability. Same with real estate. You can invest in real estate. It could be a complete train wreck if you don't know what you're doing. Or
it's timing too. It's like, you got to have patience and you got to give it time.
Right.
It's kind of hard when you're investing in things that are massively volatile, i.e. Bitcoin, because, you can invest 10 grand in Bitcoin. It could be worth, 3 grand in a day. And that's scary to hold on to that and to watch that happen. But I think in the long run, the savvy investors are the ones that can, right, have the wherewithal to just hold on.
Yeah.
Because real estate changes too, Yeah. If we all sold all our shit in 2009, we'd be kicking ourselves now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You want to have a long-term view and thinking of it. It's not short-term gains. Everything these days is short-term. Collectively, we have the attention span of a gnat, right, Pat? So it's like you have to think long term. You have to think a little bit bigger. There's got to be patience. There's got to be emotional intelligence built in with the financial and the academic one as well. I think a lot of folks have financial intelligence, they have academic intelligence, but they get very emotional very, very quickly when it comes to money and the relationship to that. So it's that having that long-term range. And when you have control over it, look, if you invest in yourself, you study certain things, you make it a priority to invest in yourself first and in things that you know that you have control over, all of a sudden that emotion is down a little bit because you have more control over it. So alignment and focus is key, I would say, in a strategy. Efficiency. A lot of the wealthiest clients that we have and a lot of the wealthiest individuals and families that we've studied, they save a minimum of 40% of their income. So paying yourself first is a big one, and then setting a goal of just
they save 40% of their gross income. So if you're a real estate agent and you made 100 grand gross, you should be saving 40 grand. Or would this be net? I guess it's probably be net. Let's say you made 100 in commission, you kept 70. You're saying save 40% of that, right? $28,000 should be saved in some sort of investment vehicle.
Or just in an efficient place to where our savings. And we've spoken about it in the past on your show through a strategy we called infinite banking and cash flow banking. So it's got to be in an efficient a place that you warehouse your savings, because from there you can access it as a business owner to expand and grow your business, right? Rather than investing into a mutual fund that Dave Ramsey tells you is going to pay you 12%, right? So investing it back in yourself and your business. So one of the things that really surprises me when I speak, especially to business owners, and as an agent, you're a business owner, is how they look for things outside themselves. If you have your money in an efficient savings vehicle, you're putting it away, it's readily accessible. Now, all of a sudden, you could take some of that money to invest it back in yourself and your business, meaning growing and expanding your business. So if there's a machine that you're sticking a buck in and it's spitting out $20 to $100 at a time, how many dollars would you put in there? You would put a lot in there. So if you're an agent, your best investment, for instance, could potentially be, back to our example earlier, of a Facebook ad campaign or a YouTube ad campaign that's going to pay you. That investment's the ROI is going to be much bigger than trying to. The tricky part with that, MC, is that it's a gray line between calling it an investment and calling it, an expense, right? People come on my show and I'm like, dude, what's your profit margin? And they're like, well, it's such and such. Or they'll say, it's 10%. And the reason it's only 10% is because all of my investment money is going back into the business. I'm investing in my business. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, that's an expense. You know what I mean? Like you can't say that. You have to call it an expense. When I say save money to invest, I mean, invest it outside of your primary business, right? Invest it outside of your core business. So do you still think they should invest 40% in outside vehicles like real estate, rentals, whether it's Bitcoin, stocks, bonds, whatever they know about? Do you still think it's 40%, or how should one figure that out? Yeah, I would put that away of my savings. Obviously, you don't want to just go broke every single time, meaning going all in basically. You want to leave a little bit of a cushion for emergencies and, if you need to put it back in your business. But from an investing standpoint, obviously, the criteria is simple. We're looking at cash flow. If it's real estate, whether it's single family, it's got a cash flow, whether it's got to cash flow money back. You got to, you got to be getting money back. From the money you invest. Because the whole idea in my mind is to build lines of income where you have so many that you can retire from real estate. And essentially that's what I did, right? I started buying single family homes, renting them out. Then I started buying multifamily homes, renting them out, commercial properties, renting them out.
created 40 some lines of income that paid me sideways, where it enabled me in 2010 to be like, look, I'm out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go do something else. I think most agents aren't presented with that opportunity because they don't save enough in the beginning. You know, they hear people that say save 10% or save something like that. You know, put your $6,000 a year in a Roth IRA, and it just doesn't add up to enough fast enough. You really should be, you know, I always tell people what you should do is figure out what your expenses are on a monthly basis. And people always seem perplexed when I tell them that. And I tell you, it's easy. Go to your bank account, look at last month's. There's one line called a debit line. There's one line called a credit line, right?
Yep.
You want to read me that debit line, and they'll say, oh, that line says $27,000. I said, okay, well, that's what you spend a month. So, and this is in your personal bank account, and or you know, you look at 6 months, the average of the 6 months or whatever, but every dollar made over that 27,000 or that 2,700 or whatever it is should be saved, and most likely it's going to be to the tune of 40%. If you do it that way. If you don't do it that way, it's going to be to the tune of like 1% or 0%.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I would say. If you want a step-by-step kind of just a quick start, you got to set up a dashboard. You know, if you're flying somewhere or driving somewhere, you need a dashboard to know how fast you're driving, where you're going, a GPS, right? So Mint personal capital is a big one. You have to know what's coming in, what's going out. You then, after that, have to establish financial statements. You know, you have to have an income statement and a balance sheet for your personal stuff, and then for your business stuff. That's how you track and monitor all of that. And then you set up an automated plan where a certain part of every single dollar that comes into your account goes into a separate account. It's not lying in the checking, and on the weekends you see what's there. So you spend it. It's something that's out of sight, out of mind. And then, of course, you know, to get more tactical, then we throw it into a cash flow banking system, an infinite banking system after that, because it's doing so many different jobs for us. That's kind of just the flow from the start pad. But to your point, when it comes to investing, and this is one thing that you have to seriously consider, because you don't have a corporation taking money out of your check and sticking it into something for you. Put that money away. Try to get, you know, I always say to folks, your first goal should be to try and save 100 grand at least, bare minimum. And then if you're an agent, try to become an accredited investor, which is $200,000 a year for a single person, $300,000 for a couple. Because now all of a sudden the game changes. Now, you know, if you've ever played Cash Flow, the board game from Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Kiyosaki, yeah.
Yeah, from Kiyosaki, you're going to get stuck in that little rat race constantly unless you could get out into the fast track, which is where the accredited investors play. So I think most people are so concerned about, do I put, you know, $20 into this and $50 into that? You should be focusing on increasing your income. Put away 40% of it until you get up to 100. Now you can start to make moves and develop those streams that you were talking about, and cash flow streams. Now all of a sudden, whether it's single family, multifamily, other investments, now you can actually invest in something that's going to move the needle and provide monthly cash flow. So that would be my advice. Before that, I mean, sticking a couple of bucks into this and a couple of bucks in there, you're spread all over the place. I like to be more focused and allocate a certain amount into a certain area that's going to make a dent, or at least show me something for the effort that I'm putting in by researching and studying that specific investment.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you can think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox, and it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. No, absolutely. I think it's all about cash flow, everything you do and all your strategies. And, I'm one of the founders of a men's mastermind, GoBundance. And one of the things we started tracking all the members of GoBundance is something called horizontal income to net worth, right? HTNW, which means, the amount of money that's coming in, right, divided by your net worth. So your cash flow compared to your net worth. And a lot of people, they look at one or the other, or they'll look at only, net worth. And a lot of people say, well, my net worth is the company that I own, and that's worth $5 million, so I'm worth $5 million, or that's worth 100,000, so I'm worth 100,000. But if it's not paying any horizontal income, it's not a great investment, right? If it's not paying you without you having to work. So if I have 40 lines of horizontal income and they're and they equate to about a 10% return on my total net worth, that's decent, right? That's pretty good. But if they, returning 2%, if my horizontal income, that my cash flow is only 2% of my net worth, that's a problem, right? I mean, that means I got too much money and too much wealth in one vehicle, which I know, which is why you like a lot of different vehicles. I like a lot of different vehicles, diversification,
Yep. Yeah, and I think too that as part of a wealth strategy, right? If you're listening to this, figure out, and we call it the 4 different levels of financial success. First part is security, right? There's certain things that have to be in place for that. The second part and level that we talk about quite a lot.
Security is just, what do you mean, like just having cash around?
Yeah, that's your savings. That's your saving 40% of that income, having all of your ducks in a row as far as
security. Yeah, like my buddy Gary Jonas, he told me one of his goals, that his wife actually wanted him to have this goal because he invests in so much real estate. She said, I want to have 150,000 in the bank account, just sitting there in a savings account.
Right.
And I think that was her security. She just wanted to know that was there. So that would fall under security, right? Just cash in the bank or some sort of savings in the bank that's very liquid.
Absolutely. And for some people, it might mean different things. It might be having a certain amount of gold and silver, cash in the bank, cash in the vault, all the other things. And then financial independence, which is economic independence, where if you know the number, and you'd mentioned what's your monthly expenses, what's the number of your monthly expenses. If you know that number and your passive income from these investments is greater and exceeds that, now all of a sudden you're financially independent. You're economically independent, which means that if you stop working today, you can maintain the current living standard that you're at. And then the next level we talk about is financial freedom, where we times that by 1.5, that number, 1.5, and then we double it, because we still want to continue to keep expanding, because you got to keep expanding, right? So it doesn't mean when you get to a certain point, now you're shutting the off button. No, we're still saving 40% to 50% of our income. We're still investing, and we're still keeping to grow our cash flow every single year. And then, of course, the last one we talk about is financial significance. Now what? Giving back, but give while you go through those different levels as well. But establishing that, I think, is the start, because one of the things that, and we started this conversation about, you don't want to be the old guy or gal that has to do this. You don't want to keep trading your time for money, which is what you're doing when you're actively working that. If you set this up correctly through cash flow investments, through getting your ducks in a row, then you'll have these income streams and be financially independent, economically independent, and have financial freedom. Because, Pat, at the end of the day, I think we're all, psychology is amazing, right? I don't think it's retirement that people crave. Retirement basically means to me that you're being put out of use, right? You're stopped contributing. You're stopped producing and creating, right? I don't think anybody wants to ever do that, right? You want to give back. You want to contribute, whether it's your family, your community, your church, whatever makes you happy and what your avenue is. I think deep down, what people are what they're really chasing is freedom, not the retirement. It's the freedom.
Yeah, freedom. Absolutely, 100% right.
Yeah, so I think to know that and make that the goal instead of retirement, and adding these income streams, I think that's going to give you a lot more control, and you're not going to be the guy or gal that has to do it, but you're doing it because you want to, or you're passionate about it, or you're teaching. Maybe you're teaching someone else in your office, right? Taking them out because you enjoy it. You enjoy people. You have to be enjoying people if you're in the industry, serving people and working with people every day full time.
No, brilliant. Well, listen, MC, this has been fun stuff. I love everything you have to say. I agree with it 100%. I mean, if people ask me a lot of times, what's one regret that I have, from a financial standpoint, and I think that would be that I didn't dollar cost average, over my entire real estate selling career. And I don't care whether you're dollar cost averaging the stock market or Bitcoin or real estate. In my case, it was real estate. I think I wish I had dollar cost averages just one house a year, even throughout the 90s and the down parts, because or the parts that nothing was happening, just because it adds up. Time flies, as they say, and it all starts with this year, and then next year, and then next thing you know, you have a whole portfolio. I did buy a lot, but I wish I had bought more and more consistently. One house a year, even if it's just one house a year, or even if it's one, ghetto property a year, something that you can afford. If you can't afford something in your area, just buy it. Just do it, right? Just start building horizontal lines that cash flow.
Absolutely, and be very, very clear on your strategy. I always say, let's lead with strategy. And I use the analogy that I'm from South Africa, and I love golf and watching golf. I'm a horrible player, but that's side issue.
You played Legends?
No. The golf course
in South Africa. I just played that last year with the Extreme 19. We had to take a helicopter up to the 19th hole in Cape Town, or outside of Cape Town.
No, I've not played that. I've had a lot of friends that have and love it. But it's beautiful, picturesque golf course too.
Yeah, the tee is in the shape of the country of Africa.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, Ernie Els is one of my favorite golfers to watch. And if you would ask me, listen, MC, you could play Augusta National and the Masters. Would you take Ernie's swing or his golf clubs? I'm going to take his swing every single time, right? So start with the swing, and then we pick the different golf clubs. So get your strategy down, write down all those goals that you mentioned as well. Be clear on those numbers, and then craft that strategy, and then figure out the mechanics and the tactical stuff. Because that's a whole nother topic that we could talk about probably.
Yeah,
for hours.
Absolutely. I like the analogy though. So MC, what is your free gift? As you know, everybody that comes on the show brings a free gift, and I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it in your show notes, guys. So, MC was on one time before 423. It was a while ago. I believe we used, because his name is probably a little awkward for a lot of people to spell. So I bet you I used Cashflow Ninja, his podcast. So I'm going to put this on hibandigital.com/Cashflow Ninja and the number 2. That's hibandigital.com/Cashflow Ninja and the number 2. MC, what's your free gift today?
There's a holistic wealth creation course that we just did. It's a free course that they can access at yourownbankingsystem.com, Pat. And basically what this course teaches is it connects all the dots, because it's all connected. When it comes to our health, we know we have to eat properly. We know we have to exercise, and we know we have to recover, right, with liquids and get enough sleep and rest and so forth. But sometimes when it comes to money and wealth creation, we don't necessarily, are cognizant that everything's connected in the same manner. So in the course, we walk you through it step by step. So your listeners can go to yourownbankingsystem.com and check it out.
Awesome, dude. Well, I'm going to put a link to that in his show notes. I'm also going to put a link to that in the Agent Success Toolbox, which can be found on hibandigital.com/toolbox, or just text the word toolbox to 444-999, and that will be along with hundreds of other free gifts that people that have come on this show have brought with them. MC, it's always a blast, buddy. I will definitely connect with you next time. I know you're not in South Africa anymore. You're in Philly, right?
Yeah, Newtown, Pennsylvania, Bucks County.
Bucks County. Well, next time I'm in Bucks County, I'll look you up. We could break some bread.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Estate Rockstars. If this free content is giving you a ton of value, I want to ask a small favor in return. I need you to pull out your pointing finger and hit the subscribe button. Yes, hit subscribe, please. The more subscribers that we get on Real Estate Rockstars, the better guests are attracted to the shows. We'll get more guests from the top companies, from the top teams, and even more celebrity guests like Robert Kiyosaki and Barbara Corcoran. Also, if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio right on Facebook and join the conversation. I'm on there myself on FaceTime Lives, and we have a lot of communications and questions about the show, and I'd love to see you there. And it's free. People ask me all the time, where am I on social media? I'm real easy to find. Just type in my name. My IG is I am Pat Hyben. It is blowing up on Instagram, adding tons of subscribers, and I'm on there probably twice a day. So definitely follow me on Instagram, as well as everywhere else. Thanks again for listening, and keep rocking.